So yeah, as soon as I saw the vaping signs and all the thing, I was like, I think I'm near Lance's house. I've been here before.
Welcome back to another episode of Game Day Glare. I'm Lance. I'm with E. This is the podcast for sports videographers. How you doing, E?
Great. I can start straight away with the weather report, usual weather report, where I'm telling you how excited I am about the Montreal weather. And today is a nice day. So yeah, it's exciting. Spring is definitely in full swing, although there was a little bit of snow yesterday, which was a bit scary. But yeah.
All right. Well, E is our official weatherman on this show. Don't worry, guys. Soon you won't have to hear about the forecast of Montreal because it'll just be nice every day. I want to give a shout out to Glenn, actually, one of our listeners. He's from Albany / Lake Placid. He reached out because I had mentioned something on a podcast about how I post some social clips and tag E. Anyway, he showed me a different way through Meta Business on how to do it. So I want to just give him a quick shout out. Now, today, we want to actually, since it's episode 101, I thought it'd be fun to work at like a class, like in high school, welcome to English 101. So what E and I are going to do is actually walk you guys through two jobs that we recently just did, two very different jobs, and kind of show you like how we kind of handle situations, what we're kind of thinking about in the situations, our settings, our gear we're bringing, all that kind of stuff. So it gives you guys a little bit of a real world feel. And now, but before we do that, there's a new little section that we came up with, the gear section. I actually named it, I called it the Scouting Report. Because, Game Day Glare, Beyond the Game, all that stuff, the Scouting Report. So this is where we talk tech.
So maybe produce
tools.
a theme song for it.
Maybe, but that's a lot more work, and I don't think I'm ready for more work. So, but this is where we talk about tech, tools, anything that caught our eye in the last week or between episode and episode. So it's just us to, kind of what we talk about off cam. We just figured it was a good way to get this stuff on cam. So I'll let E go first. What have you seen or tried or caught your eye in the world of sports videography lately, E?
Well, nothing really new because. I just I actually I'm selling a lot of old stuff right now, like all the gear that I've been collecting dust. I'm doing this for a reason. Like, first of all, I bought like a new A75, so it's always a moment to, when you spend a lot of money on gear, you want to get rid of the old gear to sort of make up for the money that you spent that you probably shouldn't have. But
exactly.
Remember that lens that I've been thinking about buying for the last year or so? Like, I finally pulled the trigger on that too. So I haven't gotten it yet because it was. So
why don't you tell everyone what that lens is? Because you have talked about it a lot, and it's an older lens though, but it's a great lens.
Yeah, it's a Sony 28-135. It's an f4 lens. It's stabilized. It's a cinema lens as well. So technically, I'm pretty sure that this means I'll have to test it, but I'm pretty sure that the difference between a photography lens and a cinema lens is that if I zoom in and zoom out, the focus should stick, like on the broadcast camera, where like if you adjust your focus manually and then zoom out, like the player stays in focus as long as he stays in the same spot, obviously. But so it's a cinema lens and stabilized, which is because basically I like one of the piece of gears that I sold recently this weekend is I had like a Tamron 35-150, so that lens is pretty much the equivalent, but the difference is that like the aperture is a little it's f4 instead of 2-2.8, but it's stabilized, which the other isn't. So I thought it was probably, like, I film handheld a lot, so I like that side of it. And also the other thing is that it's a power zoom. So I have like a zoom rocker on my FX3. So now I won't have to hold the lens. I can just zoom in super smoothly from the camera at different speeds, stuff like that. So so yeah, I'm kind of excited about it, and I was trying to make myself feel better about the, because technically, like, I don't really need that lens, so I was trying to sell a lot of stuff to justify the purchase, basically. But in terms of new gear, I didn't really see anything crazy that caught my eye, other than the fact that Smaller Rig sent me a new what's it called, like a V mount battery. And it's I don't know how new it is, but it's like basically because there was I already had like the V99, I think they call it VB99 or V99, something like that. And it's kind of a newer model of that same battery. So I haven't really tested it yet in the field, but I've geared. I did like because my FX3 setup also bought like the small rig, like the handle thing, like to like to protect the audio box on top of it, and to make like the handle longer. So I bought that. So I kind of, now I can put my monitor. My monitor used to be like kind of at the end of the handle. Now I can put it on top of the audio box thingy. So I kind of have a new setup, like with my camera, and then that V mount battery at the back. It kind of looks like I've got like an FX6 or an FX9 almost, because it all sort of rigged up and it looks bigger. So I'm looking forward to trying all that. But yeah, right now I'm looking at it. Looks good, but I don't know if it's gonna work well. But yeah, that V mount battery is good because there's more information. There's like an LCD screen, and you can see like everything. Like if you plug in, because basically I'll plug like the monitor and the camera in it, so you can see what every port is pushing out in terms of power, and what's sucking out the juice, what speed, and all that sort of stuff. So like I said, I haven't really used it, so I'll I'll be able to talk about it a bit more in a future video. But for now, it looks good. I don't know if it works, but it looks good.
So for a guy who said he didn't have much new, you had a lot new right there.
Yeah, but it's more like, other than, it's like a battery, a little handle extension, and a few USB cables. So nothing too crazy. The lens obviously is the big thing, but I don't have it yet. So, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, but I've been talking about that lens for a long time, so that's pretty cool. Because that lens came out with like the FS7, I believe. Yeah. Like it's exactly. An older lens, and it was like an add-on, and people love that lens. So for sports, and especially that's stable, that's a great thing. For me, new thing. So I have added that Alonzi JJ06 travel tripod to my camera bag. It's coming in with me on all shoots. So I had like a couple quick run and gun stuff that we'll talk about later, but I grabbed that tripod. It's been really, really good. I'm really, really impressed. Carbon fiber, very strong. Latches are all very good, easy to adjust the height, and having that middle column that really adjusts helps me. So I was doing like some quick testimonials and stuff like that. So I had different heights of people, and it really, really helped that I could just adjust it fast with the height without with the middle pole, instead of having to adjust the legs. So that's the update on that. And another piece of gear that I have upgraded recently, I didn't know if I needed it, but I felt like I wanted something smaller. I'm a big fan of the DJI mics. I had Rode for a while too, but the DJI mics, and I upgraded to the DJI Mic 3. Now I do have a Mic 1 kit, full kit, and I do have one Mic 2 that came with my Pocket 3. But the DJI Mic Kit 3 I got because I'm looking for something small that I can clip onto people when I'm doing quick testimonials, like I was last weekend. And it's just like, hey, put on your shirt. It's not too big and bulky. It has 32-bit float. There's actually a nice little button. You just press it, hold it, and it compresses the audio for you right then and there if you're not doing 32-bit float, and it will reduce all the background noise. So the way that I run my camera is on my FX3, I have my shotgun, and that's going to channel 1, or sometimes channel 1, channel 2, but on the weekend it was just channel 1. And then I had the little mic live, hot, ready to go, and that was channel 3 and 4, because I was grabbing guys during practice and that live. So this way, I always had the mic on. I just had to take the mic off the camera and clip it on, and boom, we were ready to go. The audio was all good. And man, that saved me so much time, and it was such a nice setup, because I was doing handheld and stuff like that. And I had other testimonials where I used a tripod where it was more in a a regular setting, but when I was doing the live drills, like I mic'd up a coach for a couple drills, then put on another coach. It was really, really fast. And I think it's a really, really good workflow. And now when I brought it back in, so I tried a couple things with the DJI Mic 3 because it was my first time really using it. And I'm really, really impressed with the audio. It's kind of strange, but I almost prefer the sound when it's not recording at 32-bit float, when it's just regular and I compress the background noise. For me, that sounded better. The 32-bit float, it just cuts everything off and then you adjust it later on and you just bring it back down. So it's a bit more work to it. But having that little mini mic, first of all, it works on your phone. You could monitor it from your app, which is really, really nice. And I like that when I turn off my camera, the mic turns off too. You turn it back on, it turns on. Where the other one, it would just stay on forever. But I mean, this battery lasts 15 minutes. But my first run with the DJI Mic 3, I'm very, very impressed.
15 hours.
15 hours. Sorry, 15 hours. Sorry. Yeah. 15 minutes is a little short. But my first run with it is very nice. The only setback is if you want to plug in a lapel mic, you cannot on the Mic 3s. I knew that. That's why I kept my Mic 1 kit. So if I have studio work and I want to plug in lapels, I have my Mic 1 kit. But I didn't need that for this. And majority of the time, I do not need that. And you guys too, for sports, unless you're doing a nice cinematic piece, you do not need the lapel mic. So I'm like, listen, let's just get this one. And I'm so happy with it.
See, geez, you've got lots going on too.
Yeah. Well, I'm not making my FX3 look like an FX9 or whatever like you, but actually, I am interested though, because like when we work together, you're always light, and we both had this talk about V-mount batteries. I like my V-mount battery, but I only pull it out at certain times, like when I have a full day shoot. Because I'm running my monitor on, and I'm running my camera on, and I'll get like say 5 hours off of it. But they're heavy and they're an adjustment, and you usually go light. So this is quite the adjustment then for you, that considering that you're making your rig bigger, because knowing you like a smaller rig, you like to be as mobile as possible.
Well, to me, light is more about like not bringing as much stuff on my person. So if I've got a V-mount battery, obviously I don't have to worry about having like extra batteries in my bag, and maybe potentially if I've got one lens that can do everything that I need, then I don't even need a bag. You know what I mean? So it's a step in that direction. But in the past with the previous model of V-mount, the small rig ones, and it remains to be seen if the same thing's going to happen, but so far it doesn't look like it. My issue was that, actually, I'm not sure the battery. Anyway, I'm just going to explain it. Because what I don't like about V-mount batteries, it was not necessarily the weight, but the fact that now I've got all these extra cables like dangling everywhere. And and I tried, I could go like with the dummy battery thing, but then I've got the door always open. There's something, I'm always scared that I'm going to break it by forgetting that the door's open and like putting the camera down on something and whatever. Or you can go the USB route, which is technically more stable signal. So Sony recommends to use the USB. If you're going to use a V-mount battery, you're better to power your camera through the USB-C port. But that meant, I had like a cable kind of dangling, and the same thing is like if I want to use, because the other plus value of the V-mount battery is that it can power my monitor as well. So I don't have to have a battery on the monitor. So that's another thing. It's one less battery, so it's lighter, but also I don't have to have a backup battery in my bag for the monitor. So it's all these things. But previously, because I needed like a USB-A to get there, and the connector was kind of too close on the monitor to the shoe the shoe thing like that, so it basically didn't fit. So I had to change. That's why I changed the monitor's position. Like I'm getting very micro with my answer, but
people like this. People like this though.
But yeah, so like now I was rocking, able, and it but all that to say that it pushed me to like change my monitor's position, because now I was using a different one, so it fitted in a different hole in the thing. And by doing that, I realized like I'm much better to have the monitor at the front of my camera than at the back, because I'm often like filming with the camera kind of in my stomach. So having the monitor a bit further away was easier, and not having the battery at the back means that I can lean it all the way down, where if there's a big battery behind it, it kind of hits the either the microphone or the audio box, depending on where it is. So yeah, all that to say that now I can just power these two things from the battery. And the thing was that sometimes when I was filming with a V mount, I would realize that the connection between the camera and the V mount battery just wasn't happening anymore. The actual battery that's inside the camera was powering it all, and I had to basically unplug the USB cable and just plug it back in, and then the V mount battery would kick in again. So so that's why I bought new USB cables. I thought maybe it's the data, not necessarily data transfer speed, but the watts, because there's different, that fast charging, like some can do 60 watts, some can do 240. So I bought a cable that can do as fast as possible that I could find, that's only 1 foot long. So not 1 foot, sorry. 1 foot. So that way it's much smaller, so it's not dangling, and and hopefully that thing where it stops working for some reason, I have to unplug and plug it back in, won't happen again. So if that's the case, I'm happy. So now I don't have to play around with all these little cables. And I same thing with my monitor. I found a small USB cable that basically doesn't, I don't have these extra wires on the side. They're just kind of in the middle and tucked in behind it. And with that V mount battery, the what's it called, the bracket thingy that it's in, there's things where you can attach your wires, to sort of have a clean up thing, so it's not sticking out. It's all hidden behind the battery. So it looks pretty clean. But is it going to hold? Am I going to be unplugging all the time? It remains to be seen. But yeah, that's the theory. So if everything works, I kind of feel like it is lighter because I don't have to bring all these extra batteries with me, and again with a lens that can do a pretty good zoom range from, I can film from close, I can film from far. So technically, I could go out and just leave my bag in the car or in the photographer's room and be super light. So that's the plan. We'll see.
Okay. Actually, I have the 90-degree USB cables for my V mount battery. But basically, you described kind of how my setup is. I have my screen, though, at the back of my handle where I tilt it. But you're right. If you have the battery for your monitor and you tilt it, you hit the microphone of your FX3. So I usually power it through my USB-C, and then I'll use it. But if I'm not bringing my USB-C, if I'm not bringing my V mount battery, what I do is I don't use my monitor. I just use my phone, which is a lot easier on my phone mount. I just put it if I want to go light. But anyway, we could talk about that in another episode. But no, it's cool that you're trying new stuff with your camera. I have different setups for different shoots. I don't have just one setup. I figure out what I need for that day and I go with that setup. I try to be as efficient. For example, when I was shooting those testimonials, I had my DJI transmitter on top beside my audio, so that's all nice and close. And then I have my little mic on my handle, so that way I could just pull it off easy and that, So anyway, there's different ways to set up for different jobs.
Oh yeah, obviously, because I'm saying all that, but then I'll have a basketball shoot where I'll want to film from the baseline, and then I'll want to use the 16 to 35, and so, and also if I'm shooting, for example, if I'm doing a photography video for if I want to do something about sports photography for my YouTube channel, then I'm going to be using my A7 V, and my FX3 is going to become my behind the scenes camera. I'm not going to have this whole rig just next to me on the tripod. I'm just going to strip it all down and have it on a little stand, just naked with the 16 to 35 on it. So I'm always going to be taking all of this apart, back and forth. But yeah, I do this for you guys.
I enjoy though trying different setups of my rig and making my rig, and that it's fun. And sometimes you'll make it and I'll just leave it on my shelf and I'll be oh, it's ready for next time. And then I get a job and I change it all anyway. But it's all part of being a videographer, right? Is crafting, fooling around with your gear and getting it tuned into exactly your workflow. Yeah. Now today for our topic, which is Sports Workflow 101. We want to talk about just two jobs that we recently did, two different jobs. So I filmed a fantasy camp And EU, or what was your job?
I filmed tryouts for the flag football Canadian women's national team.
Okay. So
It's
now
a
that
very
we
long
have the
title.
jobs, exactly. So let's go through like workflow. Okay. So what was your, you get the call, you get asked to do this job, obviously sometimes they ask you guys like, what's the quote? How much is this going to cost? So we won't go into money. We'll just say we give our quote, it's accepted. So boom. Usually what I do is I ask for a schedule. I'm like, okay, what's happening when, so I can kind of plan everything out. And then I base my quote off that, but everything's a go. So
Mhm.
for your pre-production, what are you tackling first?
Well, first of all, like I said, it was tryouts. So there's a lot of people, but they also wanted to do like little videos. I didn't edit the videos, but they had questions, so they sent me like this list of questions that they wanted to ask the players. So straight away, my thing was, all right, so about these questions, like, is there going to be someone there to help me? At the very least, wrangle the players so I don't have to run after everyone. That you can at least bring them to me so we can do this. And there was like a session, like from 2 to 4 they were training, and then there was another one from 6 to 8 that potentially I didn't have to stay for. So I was like, can we get all the interviews done either before or after the first session, and not having to do this thing where we do an interview, then I'm filming, and then I'm filming something, and someone's tapping me on my shoulder. Oh, we can go do one now if you're ready, and things like that. So just trying to get this organized so it's not, because that's the type of thing that's going to make the whole shoot a mess if it's not discussed prior. And so I said, yeah, at the very least, someone that can at least like organize it, but ultimately it'd be way better if that person was asking the questions as well, because that way I can focus on the technical side of things. Because people assume that once you set up your camera, you're ready to go, then you can ask the question, no one cares. But the thing is that they, first of all, you're not really as able to like monitor the audio and the exposure and things like that, and your focus as well. And second of all, like if you're next to the camera asking the questions and it's just you, like in this case, they wanted people to look at the camera. So people will have a tendency to look at you, where if there's two of us and I'm there to remind them that, yeah, here, like eyes up here, buddy. So it's like, yeah, so well, not up here, but right here.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier. And also like if yeah, when there's someone like that, it just makes it, the whole thing is just way easier to manage, and the quality ends up way better. Um, and also because when you're asking the questions, you're also reading, and then so it kind of feels to that person like you're not paying attention if you're trying to look at the camera, make sure everything is okay while they're answering, and then look. So it kind of disrespects their answer, and ultimately they give you a shittier answer because they don't feel like you're listening to them. So if there's someone dedicated to that conversation, usually you get much better content. So all that to say that, yeah, I wanted to make sure that I had someone there, contact on the day for the CFL that would be there to help me. And that's what happened. Like someone from PR was there, and he was great. It was perfect. And he was asking all the questions and stuff. So I only had to worry about the technical side of things. But yeah, once we'll stick to pre-production for now, because that was the original question. Like, well, once that I knew that like going in, I had like someone that to meet there that was going to take me through like what's expected of them, and how like what I'm filming was gonna happen, and all the question side of things. Like, yeah, that's what I want to know, so that way I can prepare my equipment. Obviously, if they didn't mention the question, I wouldn't have brought my lapel mic. So knowing what to bring, things like that. When it comes to filming the actual action, like tryouts was a very generic sort of thing where you don't really know what's going to happen. So I brought, well, to cover myself, I knew like, I didn't, you don't have to worry about lights or anything like that. Like, it's not like you're going to be putting up lights, but it's more in terms of lenses. Like I had the 35 to 150 still at the time. So I brought like the 16 to 35, the 35 to 150, and the 70 to 200. So I was covered for no matter what. And yeah, I was ready to go.
So you just totally made me look bad. because I did the exact opposite of you. I
Really?
did the exact opposite of my shoot. So
Well, what was your
for
shoot first?
so it was a fantasy camp for the Canadians, and what it is every year they have you basically you pay and you become a Canadian for a weekend. So you have practices, you have a draft, you have headshots, you go attend games, and you play a game at the Bell Center.
Yeah, I have a friend who
So I
does
had
like a Boston Red Sox version of that.
Oh, okay. So I had, and it's really cool. Like I had a lot of fun. There's a lot of alumni involvement, stuff like that. So that was awesome. That like it was great. But I looked at past videos and that, and it was just like highlights. So I asked them. I said, "Do you guys do testimonials? Do you mic up guys?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we never really had time in the past and that." So because usually one of their videographers handles it, and it's in between them running around doing stuff. So since they hired me to do it, I'm like, okay, well, I'll mic up some guys in that. So I came up with the questions. I passed it to marketing. Marketing looked over them. We came up with some questions in that. And that's where I added my own stress, because I probably didn't need to do all that extra work because it was never done in the past. But I think it will make for a stronger video. But unlike you, I was solo. So I was grabbing the guys, asking the questions and that. But I made it like basically I had written down questions for like alumni, coaches and that. And then for certain players, like certain guys, I had questions for like first timers and that. But as I got to know the guys, because I was with them for 4 days, then I would just mic up guys and ask them questions off the fly, like how things are going, how's the practice going. Like I had guys like huffing and puffing, so I'd mic them up and get them to talk about like how the coach was like, they're here for fun. They don't want to practice like this, and they're not pros and that. But it was challenging, right? Because yeah, I'm monitoring the audio in my ear. I'm monitoring the video settings. You're doing all that. So I did add extra stress to that shoot, but I do feel like it gave value to it. Anytime you can have someone talk or sound bite in that, I feel like it really, really brings value. But it was funny hearing you describe yours. We're like, yeah, I made sure I didn't have to do any of that and all that added stress. And I'm like, damn it, I literally asked for all that extra stress. I was like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. But for my company, when I run corporate stuff, that's what I do. That's what they're paying me for, is to, ask the questions and just handle the whole production. So I did that. I did have a point of contact though, which was great. So like when you're setting this up, always make sure you have your point of contact. And, I would reach out before I came, hey, I'm on my way. I'll see you guys in a bit, just making sure we're on time. And I have the full schedule. And after I get that full schedule, I give myself a little shot list, and I just keep it on my notes on my phone. And even if I am writing questions, or if you have to do testimonial stuff, I just write it all down on my phone. So I have it in my pocket as a reference. I kind of go with the flow where I'll ask like 2-3 questions to everybody, and then I kind of feel people out and get them to elaborate more, or I'll throw in a little fun question here or there, because you want to have fun. And especially in this case, it was a fantasy camp. Like you're paying to be a Montreal Canadian. So like I even got a guy to say the line like, oh, I was just trying to get pucks in deep at the game, because that's what they say all the time. I'm like, we probably don't need that soundbite, but I bet you it's going to be in the video because it's something that a player would say. And I just tried to have fun with it, and I did. So my first plan of action, my pre-production was, coming up with ideas of how I'm going to tell this story, and I came up with a shot plan for every day. And I tried my best to stick to it. But you have to leave some flexibility too when you're doing these things, because things do change fast.
Hey, you were busy.
Yeah, I was busy. And I had games after. So I was going to the Bell Center game, but it was cool because it was when Cole Caulfield scored his 50th goal. So that was cool for them. It was cool for me. So it was pretty, it was cool. It was a good event, actually. So now our pre-production was done. It's like day one, you show up. What are you bringing? Well, I mean, you already kind of said what you brought gear wise and that, but you show up, how does your day start?
Yeah, well, like I said, I brought all the lenses I need to cover every angle, because I didn't really know, am I gonna? First of all, I don't know what they'll be doing in terms of drills and things like that, and I also don't know what type of access. Like, am I going to be able to be on the field close or not? So I cover my ass from that perspective, and I make sure I've got for the interviews, like I've got my shotgun microphone, I've got the DJI mic with a lapel, so we've got both. We'll see how that go in terms of, again, like is it going to be like a super noisy environment, which it kind of was. So we'll be covered from whatever angle. So that was good too. I didn't bring a tripod, but I did bring my monopod for similar reasons. Very helpful with the interviews and also for other shots as well, because I did a lot of stable shots. But yeah, so I brought everything I thought I needed on the day, but not necessarily. I show up, I've got the camera already put together. You know me, so really, it's just getting out of the car. I just attach it back to the monopod, and I'm already good to go. And showing up there, it's just, do I use like a mist filter? So I kind of like to put the mist filter on, have some lights in the background, see, is it too bloomy for my taste or is it cool? And then I take the decision of either leave it or take it off. And yeah, and also because it's flag football and I've never shot this before, and it was raining that day. So all the way, and I'm going somewhere I've never been before, which is actually near your place. If I wasn't in a hurry that day, I probably would have called you, because I think I drove by, that main street that goes to your house. Anyway, I recognize all the vaping. It was in not Candiac, but basically between Chateauguay and Candiac.
Okay.
Then Vos, something like that. Anyway,
Delson?
Never been there before. Delson, no. Exactly.
There you go.
So yeah, we're losing a lot of viewers right now. But so yeah, as soon as I saw the vaping signs and all the thing, I was like, I think I'm near Lance's house. I've been here before. But all that to say that, yeah, I was going somewhere I've never been before and shooting a sport I've never shot before. So all I could think about was like, please, I hope it's inside. Please, I don't want to be filming outdoors. I had no idea. I didn't know if it was going to be outdoors or indoors. But it was like a sports complex was the address that I was going at. So I was like, oh, it could be indoors. So like, geez, I hope it's indoors. And it was. So that was good. But so yeah, there's things like that as well. So I brought like all my VNDs just in case, all that sort of stuff. You don't want to be caught and, basically ruining the whole shoot because you forgot one little accessory. So all these things I bring with me. In worst case scenario, like, well, first of all, it's all stuff that fit in the backpack. So I was still traveling pretty light, even though I brought extras. So yeah, got there. The contact, and that's the other thing, like you said, like having a contact on the day is good, because I showed up there and it's people from Team Canada. It's people from, like, there's a company that's basically paid to do all these tests. Like they're doing, like, the jumps and the speed and all these things. So they've got all the equipment to measure all that. So they have no idea who I am when I'm doing that. They've got their job. They're also like being outsourced that part of the process. So you show up, there's all these guys, and you assume that you're going to introduce yourself and go like, oh yeah, you're here for the film. Oh, here's but no one has no idea who you are, what you're doing there. So if you don't have like a specific person that is there to represent whoever's paying you and wants you there to film and knows what they're after, it can be awkward, first of all, when you show up, and second of all, like, you need that person that's going to tell you, oh yeah, this is what's happening and this is what we're expecting of all this, and often, like, they're not too sure about it themselves, but at least if they can tell you what they're hoping to get, then you can kind of work towards that goal. And you might not get all the way there, but at least you'll get whatever you can get with the conditions that you have. So yeah, ultimately my contact, we kind of arrived almost at the same time, and we spoke, but it was very quick for me to be ready. And then we started with the interviews, and then we went on with the sports side of things.
Okay.
So what about you? How's it like? How do you, when you show up, what's your first kind of, do you go straight to filming, or do you have to set up your camera for 45 minutes? What's the usual?
So I actually had to set up my camera there because I'm downtown. I had to park pretty far away on my scouting report because the Habs were playing that night, and the hotel was about 15 minutes a walk from the Bell Center. So I had to decide, did I want to walk 15 minutes after the game or before the game? So I parked near the Bell Center. I walked to the hotel. So I didn't want to be walking down some of the streets like Peel Street with like a $10,000 camera in my hand, you know? So I said, I'll just set it up there. But my schedule was actually pretty good. So like day one, I'm showing up just for 2 hours before the Habs game. These guys are arriving and it's headshot day. So like pros show up, and they show up, they're getting their headshots done and that. So I was lucky. I got to grab 2 testimonials right away before it started. So I checked that off right away. Then I just was getting B-roll of the guys getting their headshot shots and getting the merch and gear that they get for the camp. Now, my only issue when I'm doing this is I'm in a hotel, so I can't control the light. I got light coming in from windows and stuff like that. So I did the best of my ability to, not shoot at the windows, or if I have to put an ND filter on, and that I did for certain shots. But my issue is to try not to overshoot at something like that. I'm trying to get as much as I can, but I realize that when you're editing this video, you're only going to be showing like 20 seconds of this whole part because it's a small part. So I try not to overshoot, but you do want to get everybody. So I did film everybody, and I did overshoot a bit because I made it sure everybody was included, but it let me feel out the group. But so the day one is actually pretty small, and it's kind of an introduction. Day two is nice. It's just a practice in the morning that I was filming, because then they had a full day of other stuff. So I show up to the Bell Complex at 7:30 in the morning, and they are there right on time at 7:45. And I got to get the standard shots, because I'm trying to make them. My whole idea is to film these guys like pros. So I'm getting them in slow motion. I'm filming at 60 frames per second, so I can slow it down after them coming off the bus with their bags. Like, they don't have equipment. Their equipment's already taken care of. They're coming off the bus and walking into the practice facilities. I'm getting them looking at their jerseys, and you stay in the locker room as long as you can. Once guy starts getting dressed, you go. And that's when I grab my testimonial right away, boom, with a coach. So check right away. Like, we haven't even filmed practice yet. I already got what I needed. Now I'm filming practice, and I'm filming the practice in 2 ways. I mic'd up a coach during half the practice and that, but basically I'm filming practice. I'm trying to get highlights fast, and then I'm getting close-ups of every person there, because my main objective for my video is to show everybody in this video at one point, because all these guys are paying a lot of money to go to a fantasy camp, right? And they want this souvenir. So I'm trying to make sure that I do that. So that's my main objectives for day one, day two. Day three is my big day. That's the big day. That's where, we have a conference in the morning with alumni. They're talking. So I'm filming that. I'm filming mostly everything. Honestly, I brought my 35 to 150, and I brought my 17 to 28, but I had them on 2 different cameras. I used my FX3 mainly, and I just used my A7 V for wide shots. I also used my DJI Pocket 3 for a couple travel gimbal shots.
Are you walking around with the second camera on a strap around your body, or do you
no?
I just manage 2 cameras?
I put down my FX3. I know when I'm going to go and film. I put down my camera bag because I have a spot. I just get the shots I need. I basically just use the A7 V for establishing shots, stuff like that. So when we're outside, get exteriors of the building, stuff like that.
So
I want to show the big room.
With football and sports like that. Just have the 16 to 35 on my A7 V, kind of like photographers. Just have it on my person so that I can switch for when there's about to be a touchdown, and then just
exactly. I did do that at the Bell Center. When we I'm skipping a little bit, but when we got to the final day and we did the Bell Center game, I shot mostly everything on 35 150, but I did some shots where I was on the bench with the alumni and players and that. So it was too tight. So that I had a camera on my strap, and I just would take the shots I need. And I just had a shotgun mic. I didn't mic anybody up in that. But anyway, I was rotating between that equipment, and I had definitely enough footage, and definitely covered myself. The only different setup I did is on my big day where I had the conference. and then practice, and then they had like a draft and everything. That I used my V mount battery, and that V mount battery lasted me the whole day. Where I had my monitor, I had my V mount, I had my 35 150. Where the other days I went light. I didn't even bring a monitor. I just had my FX3 with the handle, and I was good to go. If I needed a monitor, I can always throw my phone on, but I didn't really need it. And I want to be as agile as possible. I had a tripod with me. And then one day, the run and gun day, I just brought my monopod. The only thing though is I really enjoy monopod, but I find when I have it, I sometimes become dependent on it. Like you're using it all the time. And then when you take your camera off, you feel so free. And you're like, oh man, I love handheld. And it's such a nice feeling. But that's the only thing of equipment. I found that like maybe I didn't need as much was my monopod for the practice day, because I ended up going handheld the majority of the time. I got a lot better shots handheld. And then I was constantly kind of like looking, okay, my monopod's over there with my gear. Oh, do I need my monopod? You know, that's the only tip I would give is like, you're better off to have it than not, but you don't always need it depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Did I answer
Yeah,
everything? I
well,
kind of went all over the place. My days are like, I had 4 days, guys, of a lot of intense shootings. There was a lot of stuff. I just really try to show the best experience that these guys had. And honestly, the guys are great. Because when you're with a group at like at a fantasy camp, first of all, they're all there to have a good time. They get involved. They want to be in the video. They want to be seen.
Yeah.
But like they know now that they've seen me, one day, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, by day 4, the last day, they're open. They trust me. They, like I'm part of the event now. So it goes a lot smoother on the day 4,
Yeah, can imagine. Yeah. No, for me, it was more of it was obviously just a one day, and actually it was just a one, afternoon, I think it was. Yeah. But yeah, and I guess it's similar if you're filming a game. Like sometimes, especially if it's something like a new venue you've never been to, or a new sport you've never filmed, like be patient and kind of look how things go. Because like to me, yeah, it was a new sport, but also it's tryouts, so I don't really know what's going on. So as the main trainer guy like explains what's going to happen, I'm definitely listening. And then when they break up into groups, like there were basically different stations. So show up to a station, listen or watch if I missed like the introduction because I was another one, but it just like have a look at what's going on, what they're doing, and then figure out the best like 2 or 3 different angles of that. Because that's the beauty of like having these little skills station thingies, is that it's very repetitive, which is it's easy to overshoot, but it's not overshooting if you're changing positions a lot. So if it's like just a long jump, like they have to try to jump the further, as far as possible, I would get a shot like, just a wide shot of them going from the left to the right of my screen, just a stable shot like that. Then I would figure out where most of the girls are landing, trying to get as close to that spot as possible without, obviously changing their approach because they're scared of running into me or falling into me. So like still a bit further away, but as close as possible. And then getting that shot of them landing, like I'd go to manual focus, and then just like that area where she's going to land isn't focused. So she's jumping in and getting into the shot. Or I would go to the side as where they're jumping and just like a shot of their feet, just like, leaving and things like that. So I get all these different shots. And when it's like the running thing, I would do the exact same thing, and also get a shot of the iPad that has like the time going up and stopping, like just like a lot of content like that. And it's easy when you understand what's going on and where to be, where not to be. You can get all these creative shots from all these different angles, and you are overshooting in a way, but it's all a lot of variety, a lot of angles. So when they put the video together, they've got a lot of work with. It's not just always that, girl running from that same angle. It's just like, 15 times the exact same shot. So yeah, just going from station to station, making sure like you and I cover everyone at the end. And I think I probably towards the end of the tryouts, it was more things with actual football. So I probably spent way too much time with the offense. They were running like routes without any defense. and I spent a lot of time with them because it was actually the first part that felt like football. So I made the most of that. And then I realized at some point, oh, I should probably go see what the defense is doing on the other side. And by the time I got there, they're already kind of stretching and winding down. So I didn't get much of the defense action, which I think could have been cool as well. Because I think what they were doing is just like, because it's flag. So it's almost like playing tag and trying to get each other's flags off and things like that. So that could have been cool footage as well. But yeah, see, I missed that. I missed out on that. So nothing's perfect. But yeah, it's basically like my point was take your time at the start to sort of look at what's going on, because otherwise I could have just stayed on the edge of it. It was like one of those big fields that can be separated in multiple, like soccer field, or you can just have this massive area. So you're like, holy shit, where can I go? Where can't I go? And I could have just stayed on the 70 to 200 and just stayed far and film everything from afar. But I realized that if I'm smart and I'm not putting anyone in danger, I can actually get on the field and get up close. So I had my 16 to 35 for the most part. It's just towards the end, once I felt I had it. Well, I think it's when they started throwing the football. I was like, yeah, but I better get the 70 to 200. But for everything else before that, I was like, I'll get close. And because I like the idea, that's kind of my style of videography. Like I like having the subject like close and, like you can not for like, I like a wide shot, but with a subject that is filling up like most most of the frame. So if I can be really close with a super wide lens, like that's what I like, especially if I can get like a cool sort of kind of a background that looks symmetrical and all that, and have like the player running in the middle. There's a lot of running, so having the player coming towards you, going from one end of the screen to another, like all these different shots. The 16 to 35 was perfect for that. So I used that for the most part. And it was also like smaller rooms where I would go in and they would be like jumping. It would be like a high jump type of thing. So filming from down low, filming from outside the room where it's gonna look like almost like I'm peeping, like you can see the door frame and I'm filming, and it's so getting all these kind of creative angles of the same thing that's being done over and over. And it was fun. It was different, definitely, but it's always fun when you're in a situation where, because there's so much repetition, like it's easy to, you have time to think and try and to find new ways to film the same thing.
Exactly. But the more angles you give and get is the more you feel involved. I was lucky during the camp for practices. I was allowed on the ice. So I'm on the ice. I'm in the drills. I'm getting the guys. A couple close calls because these aren't professionals. Professionals I would not go on the ice with. Professionals I'm always filming either from the bench or the glass because the practices are just too fast. But these guys, I took my chances. But what I would normally do is I would listen to the coach because I had him mic'd up. I would follow the play. I knew the play better than some of the guys who were participating in the play. But I would start on the bench. I'd feel it out, and then I'd go and get those nice close-up shots and try some different angles during the practice to really feel like, get the viewer to feel immersed in the shoot. Now, there was some things I did. I shot mostly 60. Any hockey, I shot at 60 frames a second. But all interviews, I shot at 24 frames per second. I would switch for that. There's always challenges with lighting. Like I mentioned at the hotel, I got windows and stuff like that. When you're at the arena too, like the ice is one temperature. The locker room is another temperature. The hallway is another temperature. So be careful about that. Either you switch to like an auto white balance where you lock it at times, or before you do shoot, you just check the colors, update your white balance, and make sure you change it back. But these are little things that you get better as the time goes on. But for me, like there wasn't really many issues. Obviously, like, I'm taking risks. So sometimes, with the 35 to 150, I do find with the Sony camera, my FX3, sometimes the focus doesn't stick as fast as I like. I did try one time on my A7 IV, the focus is a lot faster. It could have been, obviously part of it's new camera, part of it is my settings too. So that's always a struggle too when you're filming sports, where you get a nice shot, and then if you're relying too much on the autofocus, you can go out of focus. But I'm doing it for highlights, so I'm not really worried if I missed the goal or anything like that, because game presentation's filming the game anyway. But I was able to take some risks. But challenge wise, that's my only challenge, is like switching colors constantly, because I'm running back and forth between locker rooms and interviews and testimonials.
Mm.
But frame rate too is my other issue that I
So
only switched twice.
were you changing the white balance manually, or were you on auto?
So when I was in the practice facility for the actual practices or the ice, I was in manual. I know what the white balance is there, so it's fine. But when I'm in the hallway or locker room, I would go to auto. Just because there's too many different color lights there in that. So once I would get my subject locked in, I lock like one of my buttons I programmed on my camera is when I'm in auto, I can lock it. So once I get the color I like, I just lock it and I'm good to go. And I'm shooting a log anyway, so I'm able to adjust after. But it works pretty good and it saves me a lot of time. But for the ice, like I know the ice at the Bell Center is 56K. I'm good to go. Actually, I put at 5,700 because I talked to a photographer who told me he told me his trick, and it actually, it works. It's stupid, but one difference, like from going 56 to 57, made a bit of a difference. So I locked it on there. But except for that, it's pretty straightforward, right? Like if you work in sports and the sport, like obviously for you, it's always challenging when you're filming something new. But after like a little bit, you kind of feel out what's happening, and then you got to let your intuition take over, and get those shots that you feel are gonna really impact your video or show your skill. Like you adjusted from the baseline and you found out where you go. And the same thing for me. I found out like where I should be, where can I be, what's cool shot I got. Like even it sounds silly, but like when practice is going on, I always make sure I walk to the farthest point of the arena and I take a nice wide shot and I let it go for a bit. And, whoever's editing that video can always use that shot as a safe shot later on or a cutaway or whatever. So I always have that on my checklist, like those really safe shots. And then I take risks after I have all my safe shots checked off to try and, tell my story.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, for me, settings were pretty standard, pretty similar to what you said, to be honest. Like I've shot the interviews first, so it was all in 24, and then I moved to 60 for the action, and white balance was set while I was in that big gym thingy. But there was like one room where there was a specific drill where, a specific test, I should say, wasn't a drill. And so I had to adjust for that. So I think I put myself in auto just for that room because I didn't have the time to kind of play around with it. But so yeah, very, very similar thing as you. I stick mostly to, because it's the same. The lighting was pretty even, so throughout, so I didn't really have to play with the aperture and the ISO much. So it was perfect. It was kind of smooth sailing from that perspective.
So before we wrap up, I want to ask you a question though, E. Since it was your first time filming flag football net, is there anything that you would do differently now that you know the sport a little bit?
Not necessarily, but it's hard to say because, like I said, it was drills and tests and things like that. It's not like I filmed an actual game, but I think like looking at the sport, like you'd want a wide shot definitely. Like you wouldn't want to go too tight just so that, because like you need to see the flag getting yanked. Like it's not like a tackle, someone falls, it's pretty obvious. But if you're filming flag football and you never see the person actually catching the player and taking the flag off, I feel like you're kind of missing half the story. So you'd have to make sure that you're wide enough to capture that, especially if it's going to end up vertical. So from that perspective, I was like, yeah, you definitely don't want to be shooting too tight when you're filming flag football. That's for sure. But yeah, other than that, it just gave me I think I'd like to get more into it because I think it's getting very, very popular lately, especially with girls and women. It's very popular sport in schools in Montreal anyway. Like I know my goddaughter like played in high school, and it's very popular in university level and stuff. And now it's going to be in the Olympics in 2028, and even the NFL players are getting involved and all that sort of stuff. So it's like the new pickleballs. Like it's all the rage. So I'd really like to get into it. I was even talking. I was trying to convince the CFL to like do like a, like a on the road to the 2028 Olympics and go from the tryouts to like follow them and do maybe like a little documentary series. I think something like that. They didn't really have the budget for it. So if I do move forward, I think it's going to be a me project. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'd like to build something around that sport that is kind of on the rise and getting more and more eyeballs. And so I feel like it's a good opportunity because I always say to, young videographers, it's not about trying to be at the top. Like try to find something that's maybe a bit more niche, a bit more, but it's more accessible. That's going to give you all the access you want because they want, they're desperate for attention, for promotion, and you're desperate for content and something like that. And you guys can grow together. And as that team or that sport grows and becomes more and more popular, so does your work and your reputation and everything else. So I kind of saw it as one of those opportunities.
I think you nailed it. I think, you know what, I usually throw in something at the end of the episode, but I think you finished this episode off just fine with your motivational quote. But I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think that's cool that you pitched that. But anyway, guys, so we let you guys into a little bit of our workflow, how we kind of handle things in that. And I did write something down. I wrote down like anybody can show up and shoot, but what makes you pro is knowing how to manage the whole day. And Ian and I just kind of gave you examples of how we kind of manage our day in that, because that's the real challenge, right? Of videography is knowing how to manage it, having enough batteries, having the right gear, knowing when to mic someone up, knowing when to get the wide shot in that. And that's something that comes with time. But if you do prepare ahead of time and you kind of, plan out your day in that, you'll check off most of those boxes. But anyway, that's it for this episode of Game Day Glare. Take care, guys.